This little video I'm making is just some random thoughts about figures. And what started me just recently thinking about the figures was this beautiful coach, which is like an observation coach. You'll see it's got great large windows in it, and it looked really stark with an empty interior. And I think there may be shots elsewhere of my other models I've got, which have got figures in. And the ones which are the best are the SM32 figures, I would describe them as, rather than G-scale figures. This is what I would call a G-scale figure. It's in proportion, and so you'll see the head is relatively small, or well, it's the right size. It's all in proportion. It's accurately modelled and looks okay. Now, what I've not got is seated figures. Now, these cheap Chinese things are too small, and even if you get a bag of them, you even get some which are smaller than that. I mean, you know, there's a bloke. He's not a lot too short. You might get away with it, stuck out of sight somewhere. But look at the size of this coach. No, I wouldn't go with that. I tried. So what I've got now is a representation of figures inside. But if we look closer, what you will see is that these are actually Playmobil figures. But there they are. They're seated because Playmobil figures are jointed and are available at relative low cost from charity shops and other sources. So there we go. But as it's going by, you get the impression of people in the coach. I think this guy probably had some sort of hat on, looking at the hair thing there. There might be things you could do to it. But there we got Playmobil. So I'm open to comments on what you think about that. And I'm going to pause it while I just move. Look at this. Literally hundreds of pounds worth of figures. I mean that because of the G-scale, Pricer, Bachmann and other figures. I've got a box here which is mainly Schleich, or however that's pronounced, figures, which a modelling friend of mine picked up. There's a price on that of $1.99. It's not one of those ones, but there are some different ones, and he was selling them off as a golfer. So you've got a range of figures there, including some which are not the Schleich, but the Schleich ones still have the labels on. Yep. So a German make, but of approximately the right size. This one is an early learning centre set of figures with a charity shop 10 or 50p figure in there, 10 pence figure. That again, you can see the branding on that, and that's a scene with someone with a chainsaw. I've got another one of chainsaw somewhere. There's a box I'm going to put them back into, and a few other charity shop figures. Now you'll see there's a whole range of them, but what you notice is that some of them are approximately the right size to put on a trend set, and if you're entertaining children, they might recognize who some of these people are, elfish type people, as they go on to the set. There's a couple my older friends might recognize. That's a heavyweight cast figure. Must be an early G-scale figure, and so is the painter. The painter's a heavyweight cast figure, and there's some more figures. But look at these ones. So you see there's some expensive figures here. One here you'd be paying, I'd say £10 for that one, and it's a rigid fixed cast figure. Then you've got these figures, might add interest, quite well jointed. The legs here are jointed, the arms are jointed, not sure the neck is. The middle of the body is jointed. A jointed figure, I will not have paid more than 50p for that. Look at this one. The detail in that is really quite good, isn't it? Look at that for a figure. gun and holster, you know, and is about the right size. And as you can see, another jointed model there. You know, get down the charity shop. As I say, these then, what you get if you pay the going rate, have been as cheap as £7.80, as you see on there, but I would hope even second hand I'd get more than that. That was Model Masters at £40 for the set of 3. I did buy 1 or 2 of these from Shaw, whatever the model shop in Shaw is called. It's slipped me by at the moment. And then there's some here which are a little bit, that's out of a chess set, I think, or set of soldiers. The legs have broken off because it's some cast resin. Proper G scale. Oh, here's another one of these charity shop figures. Look at that. Scuba diver. Some weird sort of character there. Some of you might recognise. Again, that's a jointed figure, nicely detailed. So some really nice ones. Oh, here for the older people, we've got the Thunderbirds. I've got the actual model of Thunderbird, whatever it is, for that these sat in. And, you know, rather than the 50p I paid for them in the charity shop, I guess if somebody's got a model of the Thunderbird and wants the characters, I could sell them on to them and replace them with some G-scale figures. This is slightly cheaper. One, there's somebody in a moon suit. Who knows what that is? It's a Super Ted or something like this. And another character. But, you know, look, that's a nicely modelled character. As I say, there's a big difference between these characters at 10p each or 50p each, whatever the charity shop charges, and the other ones, these are well over £10 per figure now, going rate for those. So to get those, you pay a lot. Now, and as I say, there's the collection, which you know, I know there's an awful lot of money in there. I will just go and show you the other locos with figures in, just to let you see them. So here are 2 models with the right sort of figures in them. By that I mean the proper SM32 people's models. Oh, you can't see into these very clearly in this light. I've probably got other pictures of them. Seated models of the right sort. And the guy on the end here, you will recognise, if I get the light on him, is Harry Potter. Can't quite see him, can you? But we've got Harry Potter in the end there. Maybe these other ones will show up better. There we are, a couple of figures in this one. See how difficult it is to see the figures when they're actually in the model. Now these figures in here are about £10 each. That's compared to the 50p premium you might pay for those characters. And the other problem is sometimes the SM32 guys go for gnomes. When I say gnomes, I mean caricatures. I've got a couple of them. They give them names. That helps get away with the fact that they are very gnome-like, i.e. the heads are completely out of proportion to the bodies. Now that's in proportion on the back there. But you can see even here, some of the characters in here are tending towards the gnome-like quality. That isn't. But this figure here is tending towards that. And it might be that rather than have a cheap charity shop figure, which is in proportion and in scale with itself, but is not, you'd rather like a caricature or gnome, as I call it. It's a bit of a, you know, having a go at the people that put these gnomes on their layouts. But it's what you like, isn't it? And if you want to populate your layout with these gnome figures because they raise a smile and they look like characters that you recognize. It's a caricature, it's a cartoon, isn't it? A cartoon caricature of somebody that might have been on a railway at the time, rather than what I'm contemplating. But seated figures are rather expensive, and that's why I've balked at buying them to put into that coach. But there we go, that's just my thoughts, you see. I did put something on a forum about the seated figures, and people gave me links to where I could buy them from. I know they are available, and unpainted. I can get 3D printed models, and there are I think it's £7 or £8 for an unpainted 3D printed model of a seated figure, for which price, 7, I could get 14 of the ones from the charity shop. I fill 2 carriages with models for the same price, and so it's a little bit of something to consider, especially when they're in this sort of carriage, where when it's running round the layout, it's actually quite difficult to see the figure in any detail. Unless I had told you, you would not know that Harry Potter was sitting in the back of that carriage. There you are, I can't get the light on him. Very difficult to see. One final thing, I made this. There is a Keychain figure sizing helper available from one of the suppliers, because as you're walking around, it's very difficult, unless you carry a tape measure, to do the sizing. So what this is, and I can't remember what the scale is there, but the scale is in one of our common scales, a representation of height. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, that's 6 feet there. So you could say this figure is about right, 6 feet plus a hat. You could say, and in the boots as well, that's about right, that's 6 foot level. This character's a bit heavy, about 6, 7 feet tall, but that might be appropriate. Super Ted is only 3'6", is probably about right. They're not far off being the right height and right size. And if I take whatever it is, Schleich one, you'll see that's again of the same order. So it is useful having a chart like that against which you can measure your figures to see if they are approximately the right size. Price, without taking them out of the box, you know what, maybe does it say the scale? I'll leave it for you to sort it out. You can draw a scale chart, you can work out the height, and you can buy the figure sizing thing from one of the suppliers.